we just had very drastic, I mean, probably polar opposite teaching, management, classroom styles. Hey teammates, welcome back to Teaching with Tenia. I'm doing another cozy video with you guys because I just wrapped up my first year teaching, and I always wondered the difference between student teaching and my first year teaching and if they would even correlate. So I'm just going to tell you guys my experience in this video. So let's just first off talk about my student teaching experience. My student teaching experience was a little unique because I student taught at a Christian private school, and so I now teach in a public school, so that's already way different. But I already knew that basically kids are kids, and so it doesn't matter what setting, where you're at. It's crazy how you don't see many differences between the children. So before I get started, I just want to preface by saying also that every experience is different. I'm just telling you my own. So yeah, going back to student teaching, I love my co-op and I appreciate her opening up her classroom, all that to me for sure. Like I appreciate all of it. It was such a good learning experience that I feel like everybody should do before they step into a classroom. Work with children, try to get as much experience as you can, because once you get in the classroom of your own, no one's gonna be there to help you, and yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah, so me and my co-op, we got along great. We clicked right off the bat, and originally my college only made people stay there for, like, they did a Christian school placement, a private school placement, but my public school placement fell through. So my public school placement fell through, so the only thing that I could do was my Christian school placement, which I feel like I got more out of the experience. Like, it was a blessing in disguise, because how can you learn or actually do that much with a kid in 6 to 8 weeks? I forget. But yeah, so like I was saying, me and my co-op, we clicked very well. We just had very drastic, I mean, probably polar opposite teaching, management, classroom styles. And so that's where I had to pray, first of all, and then second of all, like, bite my tongue on a lot of things, because I'm a visitor in their classroom. So yeah, that was pretty tough. I don't know if I mentioned that I student taught. Also, I don't know if I mentioned that I student taught in first grade, and now I teach third grade, so that was also a difference. But it actually warmed me up into first grade. Like, I also recommend not doing what's in your comfort zone, because I truly believe that the most growth happens in life when we are uncomfortable, and I've continued to put myself in uncomfortable situations. For example, like, even me doing an ELA is a huge stretch for me, because my passion, I could teach math all day, but the fact that I'm teaching ELA, I feel like has only amplified my passion and to get students to learn how to read, because I was a struggling reader as well. So in first grade, I got to teach all subjects, and then my co-op, which, like, my cooperating teacher, the person in charge of me, the person I'm in her classroom, if you guys don't know what a co-op is. But yeah, so she is the one who released her class to me. So 1 week I taught all math, 1 week I taught all ELA, the next week I taught social studies, Bible, leading all the way up until I was basically teaching everything. And originally I was only supposed to teach for 1 week, but then it ended up being 2, and then it ended up being 3. And let me tell you, I was just having a good time teaching. Like I said, I was only supposed to teach 2 weeks, and then end up being 3 weeks, and then it was just a lot for me. I was so eager to get started that I ended up teaching 3 weeks, and to be honest, the students got in the rhythm, I got in the rhythm, and my cooperating teacher would go, like, in the teacher lounge and things like that. And so I really got to immerse myself in the teacher world. I had to plan those lessons. I had to figure out a classroom management system that would work for me. I'm so glad that she didn't make me do anything or make me like, follow exactly her footsteps, because everybody has their own teaching style, and I feel like that's what makes us all unique. And that's why I was so passionate about your secret sauce of teaching, because the way you teach is what makes you you. Like, that's your secret sauce, and I'm glad that I was able to find my secret sauce and carry that into my first year teaching. So needless to say, yeah, once she took back over the class, it was a very difficult, because once I started weaning stuff back over to her, of course it depended on where I was at or where that module was. Sorry guys, there's a dog barking in the background. No! Once I did hand things back over to her when it made the most sense, whether it was like after a test or after I finished a module, a lesson, or a unit, or whatever. When I started to hand things back over to her, the students didn't know what to do, and I feel like it could have been done smoother, but was like, who's a teacher? I'm a teacher, she's a teacher. And I'm like, well, she's in the front of the room, she's a teacher. So then when it wasn't my turn to teach, like for example, if I was teaching math and then she taught ELA, and during the ELA lesson the students are coming to me asking me, can I go use the bathroom and go do that? I'm like, go ask your teacher. So that was a little confusing for them. And even though we said multiple times, like, this is your designated teacher at the time, like we made that very clear, students would also try to play us. Like if I said no or she said yes, like they're trying to put us against each other. And I'm glad that we were able to stand our ground for the most part on that. And we were a tag team together. Basically, that was my student teaching experience, and my goal was to not go in there and step on anybody's toes, and I just wanted to basically be a sponge because I am a guest in their classroom, and I was not as confident as a teacher as I am now. I feel like that's where I started to blossom, but I was like, I'm not sure what I'm doing. On top of that, I played basketball and I was graduating early. If you want to check out how I did that, then just go back to some other videos, because it was a lot being a student athlete and student teaching. Grace of God that got me through that time, and then graduating in 2022. But during that time, I feel like it definitely prepared me for my first year of teaching, with having a bunch of stuff to do and basically no time to get it done. I had to write extensive lesson plans after practice and figure out really how to use my time well and time manage, because there's only a few hours in a day, but a lot to get done as a teacher and a lot of needs to meet your students. To go in the classroom and figure out, okay, this is how I'm hitting this learning target, this is how I'm hitting this learning target, and make sure all my students' needs were met. I feel like it low-key was like a challenge to me, and that's just my competitive spirit. It also taught me how to work with colleagues that don't see eye to eye or have different viewpoints than you. It definitely taught me how to be professional in a professional environment, because at the end of the day, we all should be there for the kids. Another thing I learned, I feel like that's where my love for phonics truly came to life, because in first grade, like, you're still, even sometimes in third grade, you're still just trying to learn how to read. So that's where my love for phonics came from, and I found a bunch of strategies and tried a bunch of different strategies to teach those students to learn how to read. And I feel like that's why I was comfortable when I got offered this position to take the ELA position, because it was literally God ordained. Like, the fact that I was like, yeah, I'm never teaching ELA, to actually, let me try it. Oh, I really like it, and then get offered a job like that. Like, it was a full circle moment, and all glory to God just to be in the position that I'm in. I would say student teaching did prepare me for my first year of teaching, because I was able to take all those learning experiences, good, bad, and ugly, into my first year of teaching. I asked a bunch of questions, because why not? She was there and I was teaching, so if I had a question about curriculum or an activity to do and want to place it into my lesson, like all the questions, ask them. If you're a student teaching, go ahead and ask, because needless to say, you don't want to get in your own classroom. And let me just say, admin is less forgiving, because at this point it's your responsibility to make sure all these students are learning. And of course, there will be some more people to help you along the way, but I feel like I learned how to crawl in student teaching, and I was walking full and able in my first year of teaching. Of course, there were some kinks I had to like work out, that I was like, oh, I didn't anticipate this happening, like documentation and things like that. Like at my other school, they weren't really documenting. So it really is, teaching is learning as you go. That's why I always said you have to be built for this. And I feel like the collaborative effort of making sure that we're all doing what's best for our students, like that's why I call you guys my teammates. Like working with, first off, I started my YouTube channel, Student Teaching. I absolutely love that. But also working with parents, other teachers, admin, like we're a collective team. And I feel like it is up to us to make sure that child is successful. Of course, that child has to put forth effort as well. But to be on a child's educational team is such an honoring experience, and I just never take it for granted. Now let's talk about my first year as a teacher. First year as a teacher, I would feel like I knew what to do because of student teaching, period. Like if I didn't have student teaching, I don't know how this year would have went as a first year teacher, because I was comfortable already having a classroom of my own. I wasn't comfortable necessarily with having to switch classes, because my first grade students, I call my first grade babies, like all these are my students, all these are my babies. My first grade students were able to stay in the same class like all day unless they went out for resource and specials and things like that, as opposed to in my school now. Oh, this is another major difference. Sorry, let me finish my sentence. As opposed to this school now, we switch half a day, because This is another major difference. I taught all subjects when I was student teaching, and now I'm only departmentalized, focusing on ELA and social studies. So really that's all I had to do. And because from going teaching any and everything all day, every day, I feel like either way as a teacher, you're going to be constantly overstimulated, but I'm finding some ways to control that. But either way, when I was teaching everything, as opposed to being departmentalized, I was like, oh, this is a piece of cake, especially with planning and things like that. And I got to be more intentional about the activities and things that I did, because I wasn't rushing trying to fit 4 or 5 subjects into a day because somebody said that's what we should be doing in education. It is crazy.
Guys, editing Tenia here, and I forgot to tell you a bunch of things that happened my first year of teaching. As a first year teacher, you still have to, it's all your responsibility, basically. So your planning, your prep, all of that is yours. You now have to be in charge of communicating with parents. That was another huge difference that I totally forgot to talk about in this video. If you're not communicating with parents, then who will? And I remember during my student teaching experience, I had my mentor teacher was there to basically communicate with parents for me, check that box, okay, yeah, we're good. But when you're the teacher, you have to communicate with parents and document everything. You have to document every little thing. So if you're communicating with parents, the good days, the bad days, what a student does, especially if you're trying to advocate for them to get some extra supports and special services, like that is all on you. It's really nice that you get to see the full growth of a student. For example, if you start advocating and seeing a student's need early in the year, and then being able to get them the services they need by the end of the year or even the next quarter, and just switching your strategies like on the drop of a dime, because you know this is what works best for this student. Your expertise matters, and I feel like I figured that out during student teaching, but when I became a first year teacher, I was like, oh, this is when I can change this. And you just have that educational expertise, like it's your responsibility. If something's not working for that child, you get to change it, as opposed to if you walk into a classroom that's already set up. Because I student taught in the spring as opposed to in the fall, so I wasn't beginning the school year, I was walking in towards the middle of the school year, and she already had systems and routines set up. In your own classroom, you get to create all that yourself, which was exciting, and then seeing the students' growth. Also, you get a full year with your students as opposed to just the semester that you had with them while you were student teaching. But needless to say, it was worth every drop of it. And on top of the meetings you have to go to, like I said, experience is key, but also doing other teacher responsibilities that your school, like your college, may not make you do. It is very important to get that experience, like sitting in on meetings, how to speak up on meetings and when to be quiet in meetings, and when to just observe things and sit back and when to speak up. So just learning those things during student teaching also helped me my first year of teaching, because I knew, hey, this, and this. I was way more confident at saying this is what a student needs and how we're gonna get it, basically. That was my approach from my student teaching to now my first year, and best believe in the second year, we're just going up. But yeah, thanks for watching.
But yeah, wrapping this video up, if you get anything out of student teaching, it is roll with the punches and take everything with a grain of salt, because at the end of the day, you're just there to learn. It's only a step in becoming the best teacher that you can be. And as you reflect and grow during that time, like I look back on my student teaching journal, I love to journal, about the things I was worried about and how God has answered that prayer and amplified it in my own classroom this year. And I feel like everything happens for a reason, and I'm not sure if you get to pick what school you're at or pick what grade level you're going to be teaching at, because I was like, I want to be third grade. Like I always knew my dream grade was third grade. But then my professor, Dr. D, was like, actually, yeah, we're going to put you in first grade. And I'm like, okay, like I don't have a choice at that point, but it definitely put me outside my comfort zone and made me so comfortable in my classroom now that I'm truly thankful for that experience. My co-op and those students and those parents showered me with absolute love on my last day. Make sure to check out my last day of student teaching video, because I bawled, like absolutely bawled, and those parents, it was just amazing. But taking all that into my first year of teaching, like I said, if you get nothing out of this video, make sure that you get involved in education, whether that's being a peer, a volunteer, or something, so that you have experience in how to work with kids, because then you get to your first year of teaching and there are a bunch of behaviors that you didn't know existed in children and you weren't aware of their developmental stages and things like that. I ramble all about this. because I just finished my first year of teaching, I'm so proud of me and my students. Continue following along my journey. Go ahead and subscribe down below. I would definitely appreciate it. And it also tells the YouTube algorithm that you want to see more videos, and it supports me a lot. So don't forget to create a great day, and I'll see you guys in my next video.